Nikon fans have been waiting with bated breath for news about the Z50 Mark II, hoping for some big upgrades. But if the early leaks are anything to go by, it looks like some of those hopes might be dashed. The big headline? The Z50 II might come with the same 20.9 megapixels sensor as the original Z50. Yeah, that's a bit of a letdown for those expecting a major boost in resolution. The Nikon Z50 made a splash when it first came out, giving photographers a compact and budget-friendly option in Nikon's Z series. It's a favorite for travel photography and casual shooters, so naturally, everyone's been curious to see what Nikon would do next. But according to early rumors, the Z50 II might not be as big of a leap as some were hoping. The big sticking point? That 20.9 megapixels DX format CMOS sensor. It's the same one from the original Z50, and while it's not bad by any means, it's not exactly groundbreaking either. With other brands like Fujifilm and Canon pushing higher resolutions in their APS-C cameras, it feels like Nikon might be playing it a bit safe here. Okay, so the sensor might not be new, but it's not all doom and gloom. There are still some upgrades on the horizon that could make the Z50 II a solid option. For starters, we're looking at an updated body design, which could mean better ergonomics and handling. If you're spending hours shooting, that little tweak can make a big difference. One of the more exciting changes is the rumored XSpeed 7 image processor. This is the same processor used in Nikon's higher-end models like the Z6 III, so we're likely to see faster autofocus, better low-light performance, and smoother video recording. That's something to look forward to, especially if you're into shooting video or fast-moving subjects. Another welcome addition is the Vari angle screen, similar to what you'd find on the Z6 III. This is going to be a big plus for vloggers and content creators who need a flexible screen for different shooting angles. And finally, the Z50 II is rumored to feature USB-C, which should make charging and data transfer a bit more convenient. No more fumbling with cables, always a win. However, one thing that's staying the same is the battery. The Z50 II is expected to use the same Nikon NL25 battery as the original, which is fine, but it would have been nice to see a bit more juice to keep up with the new processor and features. If these leaks are on point, Nikon is gearing up for an official announcement before the end of 2024, likely sometime around September or October. This timing makes sense since camera brands tend to roll out new models ahead of the holiday season. There could still be some surprises in store, and we won't know the full story until Nikon officially pulls back the curtain. But based on what we've heard so far, it seems like Nikon is taking a more iterative approach with the Z50 II, refining the experience rather than overhauling it completely. Let's face it, the biggest disappointment in these early leaks is the decision to stick with the same 20.9 megapixels sensor. It's not that the sensor is bad, it's just that in a market where competitors are pushing for higher resolutions, it feels like a missed opportunity. Take Fujifilm, for example, which is offering a 40 megapixels sensor in the X-T5, or Canon with its 32.5 megapixels sensor in the EOS R7. Compared to those, Nikon's decision to stick with 20.9 megapixels feels a bit conservative. For photographers who need the extra detail for landscape work or larger prints, this might be a tough pill to swallow. But for casual shooters, vloggers, or anyone looking for a solid all-around camera, the Z50 II could still hit the sweet spot. The new processor and other refinements might make up for the lack of resolution, depending on what you're looking for in a camera. Now, let's switch gears from the mid-range Z50 II to the high-end stuff. Rumors are spreading that Nikon has started work on a new version of its flagship Z9, tentatively called the Z9S. If you're a fan of Nikon's high-end cameras, this is where things get really interesting. The Z9 was a game-changer when it launched, offering incredible autofocus, lightning-fast shooting, and top-tier video capabilities, all wrapped up in a mirrorless body. It's a powerhouse camera that's been giving Canon and Sony a run for their money. So what could Nikon possibly do to improve on it? Enter the Z9S. While the details on the Z9S are still pretty sparse, Nikon's usual playbook suggests that this will be an incremental upgrade rather than a full-blown new model. Historically, Nikon tends to release S versions of its flagship cameras. Think of them as refined versions with tweaks and improvements rather than complete overhauls. For the Z9S, that could mean anything from an upgraded sensor with better dynamic range to improvements in autofocus tracking. Video capabilities are also an area where we could see some enhancements. The Z9 is already impressed with its 8K video and internal ProRes RAW support, so the Z9S might push things even further with higher frame rates or better heat management for longer recording times. If everything goes according to plan, the Nikon Z9S could make its debut sometime in late 2025. That might seem like a long wait, but it's pretty standard for Nikon to take its time with flagship updates. The Z9S will likely be a continuation of the Z9's success, perfecting the formula rather than reinventing it. By refining what's already working with the Z9, Nikon is positioning itself to stay in the game without rushing to release a completely new generation. On one hand, they're making sure their mid-range lineup stays competitive with the Z50 II, even if it's not a revolutionary upgrade. On the other hand, they're keeping their foot on the gas in the professional market with the development of the Z9S. For Nikon, it's all about balance. The Z50 II is likely aimed at casual shooters and enthusiasts who want a solid, affordable mirrorless camera. It might not blow anyone away with groundbreaking new features, but it could still be a solid choice for those who value portability and ease of use. Meanwhile, the Z9S is all about maintaining Nikon's edge in the professional space, ensuring that it stays on top of the high-end market. At the end of the day, the early leaks and rumors around the Nikon Z50 II and Z9S offer a mixed bag of excitement and uncertainty. The Z50 II might not be the huge leap forward that some were hoping for, especially with that same 20.9 megapixel sensor, but it still brings some welcome updates that could make it a worthy successor to the original Z50. On the other hand, the Z9S looks poised to continue Nikon's tradition of delivering top-tier performance to professionals. It's all about refining what works and staying competitive as the market heats up with new releases from Canon and Sony. What do you think? Are the rumored specs of the Z50 II enough to keep you interested? And what about the Z9S? Does Nikon have what it takes to stay at the top of the flagship game? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for more updates as we get closer to the official announcements.